I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who teacheth the Bible in 100% truth, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes of Israel, especially the 144,000, who consist of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in the land of the Americas, as well as the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners living amongst the other nations. Shalom to you. So today is going to be a real short one. I'm going to try and hit the point. I'm just struggling with time. I've been watching the videos. I've been a lot. As you know yourself, there's a lot going on from day to day, and sometimes you need time to just sit there and it's one thing hearing these information that's going on, but sometimes you need time to sit there and obviously let it manifest in your mind, let the spirit work. But if personally, if I don't get that space and time, then it doesn't really work for me. I can easily just sit down every day and open up the book on a particular chapter and read it and break it down. But there's obviously we come to talk to you through the Holy Spirit, so we wait on the Holy Spirit, and obviously to work in the Holy Spirit. You do need times of you call it meditation, but it's thinking, your mind dwelling on the scriptures, the aspect, things that are happening around us, because we're in prophecy. Prophecy's in full flow. The flow gets fuller, but it's still full flow. So obviously there's a lot going on. So you're just trying to pay attention to it all, and it's a lot. So I ain't really getting that at the minute because I started this new job and whatnot. So it is what it is. I don't really want to go into all that, but I've been, obviously we've all seen like Donald Trump. I mean, I watched Apostle Tahar. He had that video with Cooley versus Al-Azhar, and these stupid debates, and then they let in the Edomite, and the Edomites. He kept asking that question. He kept asking the tenacity of prophecy. That's all he kept saying. Show me the tenacity of your prophecy, the tenacity of prophecy. And to ask that question in January 2025, you're either just trying to save face to argue against something that is obviously happening before you, but you just because you're in the seat of against it, you don't want to believe it. It doesn't, what we preached. You know, we we preach, if you like, good tidings to the elect. In that there's Jacob's trouble, but there's a deliverance, and if you're of the hopeful elect, then you could be of that number. But then obviously you have the flip side, and on that flip side we bring this the word of prophecy through the name of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai to, well, we bring it to the internet, which ultimately brings it to the world. The men at GMS teach you 100% truth. So anybody teaching in that vein or in that same manner, affiliates, you're teaching 100% truth. So that goes out to the world. But that word, in terms of prophecy and what's due to come to pass, to them, to the 2/3, to the other nations, it's not good tidings, so on and so forth. It's woe and lamentation. So people don't really want to face it, and then obviously they just trying to argue themselves out of a corner, which you're never going to get out of. And so through that they'll deny the obvious. That particular Edomite is going, well, show me the tenacity of your prophecy. It's happening before you. But if you don't understand it, how do you expect to see it? So we're watching this situation with Donald Trump. This is Nero. This is like Nero in the reincarnation. Reincarnation is a biblical concept. He's back. He's back as Trump. And So we have Rome 2.0, which is what we live in now, the revised Roman Empire. You got the two legs of the statue in the book of Daniel, or you got the beast. Um, you have the beast out of the earth and the beast out of the sea. Both spoken of in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, which represent the ancient and revised Roman Empire which we live in today. Which, when you read through Revelation chapter 13, it ends up with what? The MOTB, and a commandment not to take this particular device offered to you under the skin in order to buy or sell. So we know that time's coming, and obviously we've got Trump here. We're like in the previous video, for example, as going into to Acts 2.0, and then you've got Donald Trump coming in. He's definitely the last president of America. You're not going to have a president after that, because there's a couple of basic factors. Like one, in that he's got the people so hyped up in thinking that he's going to do what something to save them, and make America great again. But we know the opposite, according to prophecy. He's signing all these executive orders. He's got smoke coming off the pen as he's scribbling through, one after the other. And so we know a lot of changes are coming. I did have to laugh when he came out and said there's only two genders. There's a lot of people at home crying. So the Most High, I keep saying it, the Most High is about to turn this world upside down. And that is obviously, when you read here Isaiah 59 and 19, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And so this is what it's all leading to. The Most High is about to turn the world upside down. He's using the MOTB, Donald Trump, to do it. He's using obviously Edom as a nation, and that's what obviously when you go through prophecy, Edom, they're all over it. So, and now we've got, keep explaining to you, keep pushing that point. I mean, you look at. I was talking to someone the other day, and it's funny, it's hilarious, because you just look, you go on the internet and you just typing in things to do with, prophecy or things going forward, what we look at, the scriptures, so on and so forth. Obviously, there's a certain level. You'll look at, you're not going to waste your time watching too many Christian church videos. But you look around and there's only one group of people who keep talking about Nero, who keep talking about Trump, and that's obviously the men of GMS and anybody affiliated speaking the same. I was about to say same music, but the same word. We know that this is the new song that we sing, 144,000. So we can see all this coming to pass. Obviously, these Donald Trump is about to obviously make a big shake-up. The reason why I say he's the last president is because you got America amped up to make America great again. So this is the point at which it all deflates, the bubble bursts, and they bring in this new world order. There's an agenda to do. You can't do that on the next go around, because then what you're going to have, Trump 2.0, sorry, well, would that be Trump 3.0 in 2028, voting for 2029, and he's going, no, don't worry, this time I'll really make America great. Oh, because you didn't do it in 2025. So, and then what, is someone else going to come along now after Trump and say, now, well, I'll make America great again? So this is the last president. And then you've got many factors. You've got the average age of an empire. It's about 250 years. And there's so many things that obviously I could just go on all day. But people, whether they get that or not, we're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble. Obviously, at some point, it's going to escalate further and further to a peak where the prophecy of Revelation 13 is made mandatory. So this is when, see, what the Most High is doing is bringing fear to the world. He's turning it upside down. This is all in aid of magnifying His name, the whole, destruction, um, the deliverance, so on and so forth, the setting up of the kingdom of heaven, everything, is all goes into magnifying the name. So he's about to bring that fear by bringing the judgments in Jacob's trouble, build them up, intensify them, and obviously build us up to the point of the MOTB, the destruction and deliverance. It says from the west and the glory, from the west and his glory, from the rising of the sun. It says when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And so in the last video I was talking about Acts 2.0, turning the world upside down. And what I was trying to get at is, when you look at Acts 2.0, you realize that's actually already kind of happened. It's happened. The world's been turned upside down. The prophets, whoever they are, the apostles, you'd expect them to have what? 100% truth. You'd expect them to break down the scriptures, tell you what's going to happen, and that's what, for example, the prophets have been doing over the last 6 months, specifically last year with this election. You got that Edomite asking, "Where's your tenacity of prophecy?" Well, when I started learning about these scriptures, 7 years ago, right, 2018, I knew nothing. I had the vision. I knew that there was the Most High. I knew He had a Son. I knew so on and so forth. There's other bits that I knew in that particular moment. So when I rewind, that was what, 7 years ago, give or take a week. So at this point, 7 years ago, I didn't understand the scriptures, didn't have anybody that could break down the understanding of what's going on. And so at that point, I came across GMS. They said they got 100% truth. Well, I said, well, look, let me find out. So I'm watching videos, and then you hear a breakdown, and you hear the breakdown of the hooks in thy jaws in terms of Russia, regaining the trying to take back what they had in the USSR, back in the 80s. And so what do we see take place? I learned that between 2018, 2019, 2020, somewhere along the line, 2021, and then I think it was 2021. Does it really come to 2022? You see the Russia-Ukraine war. So there's your tenacity of prophecy. You've got a group of men breaking down a scripture, it's parabolic scripture. They give you the ins and outs and all the details. They show you all the details on via the internet. The information's there, and then you see it take place before you. That Russia-Ukraine war is prophecy, and you remember the time when it wasn't occurring. 2020. Who was talking about Russia-Ukraine? Nobody, half the world never even heard of Ukraine in 2020. Especially half of Americans probably never heard of Ukraine. But fast forward 3-4 years, yeah, you've all heard about it because there's been a war, and it's in the book, and the prophet spoke about it before it happened. How tenacious do you want it to be? It's right before your eyes. You can see it. It's like a movie playing out. And so now we're at this point again, with this, like I was saying in the last video, you got this Acts 2.0. Those prophets are back, and they've turned the world upside down. So now the Most High is about to turn the world upside down in terms of bringing this end, this climax, this Jacob's trouble, this whole thing. So that's why Nero's back, and we keep saying Nero 2.0. If you understand, if you're at a level where you understand that and it makes sense and you can see it all, that's a good level to be at, because that means your eyes are open to a very good extent. There's a lot of people that is passing them by. I mentioned in the last video about the Donald Trump, and he made the tweet. Donald Trump is Nero back in reincarnation, and he's just pretty much doing the same thing, blaming fires on Israelites, basically. And you see, like, for example, that tweet came and went. That's nothing. There's no real big news out of it. But we recognized it. A very, very small group of people. There's 9 billion people in the world, right? And how many people, you take a guess, how many people out of the 9 billion people in the world can actually sit here today and say, well, I understand the Acts 2.0, I understand Nero is now Trump. I understand what he's doing. I understand he made that statement. There's other things. There's many things. I could just go on for like just however long. You've seen all the videos coming out, all the information just pouring out about obviously the similarities. You know, LA was it was an area obviously known for like entertainment, which is the same thing in the Great Fire of Rome, so on and so forth. The high winds was a factor in the Great Fire of Rome, you know, just like in LA. And then we just go on and on and on into other things. You've watched over the last few days all these occultic symbols that they've done through the inauguration. And but another sign is that he didn't put his hand on the Bible, which I was supposed to look it up whether he did it last time or not. Didn't actually get the chance, but he got sworn in, but he didn't put his hand on the Bible. And so these little things that are only a small group of people really see it, and that's the understanding the Most High has given us. He's allowed us in to these secrets that far. You know, yeah, you found out the secret that the 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 J3Ws are black. Oh yeah, wow, yeah, yeah, you found that out. Yeah, you got the secrets of the Most High. But then, how far down the rabbit hole can you really see? And the Most High only lets you see what He wants you to see. So if you can see that, that's a good thing. And then these people can't see it. You know, I was thinking like you got like for example Apostle John on the Isle of Patmos, and you had the Spirit comes to him, he sees visions, he sees Yahweh Shai, he writes it all down, he writes a letter, and then he sends that to the 7 churches. So you've got Yahweh Shai, or the Spirit, if you like, talking directly to Apostle John. He's written these letters, he's sent it to the churches, and this is exactly the same thing with what's happening now. So the people who can see far down that rabbit hole, some of you are the prophets, some of you are the apostles back in the reincarnation. So you too would receive the Holy Spirit in the same manner that John would. And then you would write your video, your letters, but which actually becomes the videos, the epistles, and you send it out to the churches. But some of the churches pay attention. You've got Berea, you've got here Acts 17, obviously Paul at Berea. We know Berea, did their research. So Apostle Paul pretty much bigged them up. He said, yeah, they're good for it. They're good for their knowledge, because whatever I tell them, they go and double check it. But then you've got some churches out there, that aren't really paying attention. You've got the synagogue of Satan. People like to throw that at Edomites and Amalekites. But John didn't write no letters to no Edomites. He wrote letters to Israelites, and that letter was written by John. So how are you going to tell me, oh yeah, so Yahweh Shai is coming going, yeah, I know about you Edomites, this and that. So the letter's not written to them. It's written to Israelites. And so I know some of you are lukewarm, I know some of you are hot, and I know who's who, and I know what's what, basically. So it's pretty much the same things happening now, you see. We get it in the same manner. So the Spirit goes to the prophets, whoever they are, the apostles, and things happen. So we can see things. We're seeing things play out before us. See, it's one thing about reading about it and going, okay, yeah, it's A to B to C to D, but now you're living in it. So it's a whole 3D concept to it, where you're in it and you see it play out, and things happen. So you see Trump doing these tweets. You see him, he don't want to put his hand on the Bible. So it's the spirit that will go to the prophets. They'll understand it. They see it. They piece it together. They tell you about Acts 2.0, Nero. They tell you about Nero is back. He's Donald Trump. He's come to persecute the Israelites. To do it with what? To do it with Jacob's trouble. So we keep telling you that. And then if you can't see it, then you can't see it. But we teach that. And then that's the same way the seven churches, they're out there. And you get the chance to hear it. Some of you are lukewarm, and some of you are hot. And see, that's what I'm saying. If you're hot, you can see far down the rabbit hole. Yeah, the Most High, He opens the eyes of the prophets to see far down the rabbit hole, to be able to present the information to the people, to the elect. The you got obviously the multitude. So then you got the 144,000, for example. So these people are out here, and they're obviously, they can see, they're basically seeing into the spirit down, down that hole, down the rabbit hole. They take the information, they pull it back out, they share it with the people around them. It's the same way, and what it is, it goes out to who it goes out to. And if you're lukewarm, you're gonna miss it. If you're hot, you're gonna see it. You see, now we're in the time where we don't read about other people going through it; it happens to us. So if you are lukewarm, you see what you take your chances. And if if you're hot, then you're hot. So now it's not like, you you were lukewarm and this happened to you, or this well is happening. So we'll see what plays out. But Donald Trump's definitely bringing Jacob's trouble, 100%. He's the last president, 100%. And the only question is, at what point in this next 4 years does it all really go down? But you got to think, at the end of his presidency is 2028. He's going to do 25, 26, 27, and the whole of 28. That's 4 years. And then through 28, you'll have the voting for 29. And so what do you think? They're going to bring a new president in 2029 for their new world order to complete their agenda for 2030, and leave it to the last minute? Now this is the time. And I said it a couple of times last year, 2024 was the year they changed a lot of these leaders all around the world. And this agenda that's been pushing since 2020 goes into a next gear come 2025, into the second part. And you can see Donald Trump's pen is on fire. It's burning. It's smoke. Like the tires when they do the burnouts, and the tires are just giving off smoke. This is what his pen's doing, and he's signing executive orders. You got the one about the women. I mean, women are going to be in trouble. See, what will happen, right? These laws, like for example, the government now, he's saying that the US government don't want to accept anything but two genders. Okay, that's cool. A lot of people are going to be upset. A lot of people are going to be happy. But what it then will take is a few months to it'll take a few months for that to kick in, because it's like the laws get changed, and then so for example, all these baby mothers missing out on their payday or whatever. First week you're tight, second week it gets tighter, third week, fourth, first month, second month, third month, things get tighter, get more desperate, things intensify. So obviously, it then just when a law comes into place, it just depends. It's just a matter of time before people have to succumb to it and accept it. They bring new laws in, acts. They bring in acts, or really, you go back to that whole stuff. You got these dumb jakes getting pulled up by the police, going, "No, I don't. I'm not of your jurisdiction." They try and give you all this. They think they know the law, and they try and do all this kind of nonsense, because there's, in the UK, in England, there's the law of the land, but then all these other things that they hit you with when the police are pulling you up, they're acts. They're not. They're not. It's not actually the law. So when you go jail, court, and they're saying you did this, you did that, you did that. A lot of them, they're getting you against certain acts, not really law. There's only certain laws in I know that's in England, for example. There's certain basic laws. You can't murder, you can't do this, you can't do that. Obviously, the big ones that they're actually laws, but a lot of the smaller things are acts. They add them on. So when the government brings these things in, it affects people. Like I'll give you another example, right? So that you probably got it in your area in the UK in London. They got the green zone. They call it ULEZ. So the whole of London, there's a M25 is a circular highway that circles the whole of London. I basically live just outside of it, even though I grew up inside of it, but I live just on the outside of it because it's a shithole. And basically, they brought in this ULEZ. So if you drive a car that doesn't meet these emissions, you can't, and you go within the zone, within that circle, that M25, you basically got to pay a charge. And so a lot of people had to go and change their car. They had to go and pay money. They get forced to do it. Some people living in the zone, they got no choice. They're living in the zone. Every time they get drive their car, they got extra charges. Like me, for example, I've got away with it for a few years now because I've been working and living just outside it. But now, obviously, I've got a new job. Is My new job is 2 miles down the road, and the last fucking half a mile, like I go into the zone. So now they've it finally caught up with me. You see, so what they do is they bring in these little things into they call it law, acts, whatever. They bring them in, and they go, "This is the thing now. We're going to do this. We're going to punish you if you do this." And it was never a thing. Nobody in the 70s was getting punished for using too many emissions. Nobody in the world fucking knew what emissions were in the 70s. They were just having the good life, driving big cars, planes, and just living the high life, taking drugs. That's what the 70s was about, having parties, discos. So at some point it catches up with you and you have to kind of fall into line into society. That's how they do gradualism. That's how everybody's now logging into their bank online. Nobody was doing that before. It's gradualism. And the gradualism at some point speeds up rapidly, and that's when they go to introduce that major change. So, Jacob's trouble leading on to the MOTB, Revelation 13. So I keep saying it because every week you probably think, oh, this guy comes out every week and says, yeah, you keep saying that the Most High is going to turn the world upside down. Yeah, well, how many times in the history of the earth from the beginning, you know, I don't know what the Most High did before he created earth and created humans, but from the beginning of that to the end, when is there ever going to be a turning of the world upside down? See, in the flood, he didn't actually turn the world upside down, he just drenched it and just basically drowned everything apart from 8 souls, kept them alive, and then took it on from there. See, this time, Matthew chapter 24, time like never been seen before. It's where the world gets turned upside down. So you might say, oh, he keeps talking about it every week. Yeah, well, it's only coming once, and it's a major event. And when it really kicks into gear, it's gonna. If you don't get it now, it's gonna make sense at that point. But yeah, actually, I could just close it by mistake. Isaiah, hang on. I just closed the window by mistake. Hang on a sec. Isaiah 59. It says 59 and 19 says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. It says, when the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So we got to think ahead. Um, we done told you, what's going to happen now, January 2025. You've got Trump coming in, Nero. We already told you this. It's back going to get hectic. Look around you, it's hectic. You got tomorrow, the 25th. You've got this planetary alignment. Don't forget we had the solar eclipse in April 24. That was the start of the year. Was it 4 weeks before that? Was the start of the Most High's year. And in that year, you've had Donald Trump voted in. You've had the lightning strikes on New Year's Eve. You've had what else you've had? You've had now you've got the planetary alignments come in on the 25th. Is it seven planetary alignments, I think? And then you've got Passover coming up, the blood moon. I mean, man, somebody's in trouble. When there's a blood moon on the Passover, somebody's in trouble. And this time it's not going to be Yahweh Shai. So you work it out. And something's going to go down. Before, after, around, on, I don't know. But that from you look at like a year from like the solar eclipse, the An, the Thar in April, all the way up until that coming up blood moon 2025 Passover. I mean, what a year, and we still got 2 months of it to go. So this is why it's exciting. But we broke this down, and so really we look ahead as being prophets. We look ahead. We're already advanced of that. So it says, so shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and the glory from the rising of the sun. So when the enemy shall come in like a flood, and that's what's going to happen very soon. It says, the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. And this is referring to spiritual power. And so this goes back into how far can you see down the rabbit hole. Do you see my point? So you're receiving the understanding. You're making your epistle. You received your revelation like John did. You sent it out to the churches. But but who's really paying attention? Who's like Berea, for example? Who's like the synagogue of Satan? So like the it's like the dividing line. The Most High is really starting to like draw the line in the sand. Between there was like these people speak about this stuff, and we don't know. Like, they kind of like they seem to know the language, but we don't really believe their prophecies. You had people like, for example, laughing at the prophets for speaking of the chariots of Israel. Well, these people calling about so-called UFOs. I mean, the amount of UFO sightings that have been going on lately in the last 6 months. People can't laugh at it anymore. Who's laughing now? They can't laugh at you. So the it's all good squaring up to people, this, that, and the other. But when the line gets drawn in the sand, then there's a definite like, no, this is done. Like the line's been drawn. So the Most High is about to do this. And obviously, so at that point when Jacob's trouble kicks in, if you can see far down the rabbit hole, you should then believe that you could be one of those vessels which the Most High Yahweh uses. Says the spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So the intercessor Yahweh Shai, who's been making the case for us in the heavens, he's like, obviously his blood redeems us. He's making the case for us. We receive the Spirit like John did. We make our epistles. We send it out to the churches, whether they hear, whether they forbear. It's their problem. And then, Lord willing, you could be one of them people that ends up with that. That this is when the Most High says, okay, you know what? I'm turning this world upside down. I'm done with this. I've had enough of Esau. I'm turning it upside down. We're in Jacob's trouble. It's already going. There's no reversing now. It's any day now. I'll give you the day where you can go back. But what I'll do is I'll start fucking with these Edomites, and I'll put a spirit on the elect, on certain people. Not everybody. You got the elect, for example. It's not going to be every single member of the elect. Maybe one or two people. Don't forget, in the time of, hang on a minute, I've done it again. In the time of Joshua, for example, it says, for Yahweh have driven out from before you great nations and strong. It says, but as for you, no man hath been able to stand before you unto this day. It says, one man of you shall chase 1,000. It says, for Yahweh, your power, it is that fighteth for you, and and as he hath promised you. I'm a little bit tired, so but in the times of Joshua, basically, you don't want the Hebrew Israelites to come around calling on Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. But now we're in. So the power then, for example, on our people was power of, we could go around and hurt other nations. We could physically hurt them with the power, with the strength. We call on the Most High. We do it what He wants us to do, and we're taking over nations. But that level of power will come back to the 144,000, for example, after the deliverance, when they're being back down on earth, and then we have to round up the other nations, put them into captivity, let them know who they are biblically, and then you'll see that level of one man chasing 1,000, so on and so forth. But in the time of Acts 2.0, you got Jeremiah 16:16 says, "Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahweh, and they shall fish them." And that's what we're doing. I'm fishing now. You can see me. I've just cast my rod by basically saying what I'm saying. And if a fish, if it might catch a fish, you never know. That's why sometimes it's good to like go into. You got to keep reminding sort of basics. Like the MOTB. It's coming up very soon. Jacob's Trouble, Revelation 13. We repeat these things. It says, and they shall hunt. And they shall fish them. It says, and after I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. So after the deliverance, when 144,000 men, they come back down with the Spirit of the Most High, the changed body, that full spiritual power suit, around their spirit. Where the minute we wear a flesh clothing on our spirit, if you like, but that will be gone once we're beamed up into the chariot, and then once you've been back down, you obviously, or once you get up there, you've got a new clothing to that same spirit. So it's almost like you get dressed, but you don't really get dressed, but it's almost like getting dressed, and then you see someone like um in work clothes, and they look all like dirty. They got grease all over their hands, and their beard's grown. They ain't cut their hair for a week, and you go, okay, yeah, this guy looks a bit. But then you see him next week, and he's sorted himself out. He's cleaned up. He's got a suit on. He's got nice shoes on. You think, wow, he's just like two different people. But obviously that's a low level. Obviously, I'm talking about on a high level spiritual bodily change, which can only be given in a divine manner by the Most High. But it says, "Behold, I will send for many fishers, saith Yahweh, and they shall fish them, and I will send for many hunters." And after I will send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. It says, "For my eyes are upon all their ways; they are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes." So in now where we're Acts 2.0, you have the fishers out there, and so in those times you go to Acts. Originally, you had obviously the apostles, you had the prophets, and mainly it was you read of the apostles, and they had spiritual power, but the spiritual power in that sense wasn't like it was in the days of Joshua. They weren't going around rounding up 1,000 people and putting them into captivity. They were more healing and just generally, kind of, if you like, doing good to members of the elect. Obviously, put whoever they were that got that. There was obviously, you know, the apostles aren't going around healing the other nations. They're healing their own people, but obviously they're possible members of the future elect. So they would have gone around, healed this person, healed that person, or whatever else. You had certain other things that go into it, and this, that, and the other. I mean, Yahushua did many spiritual, um, many spiritual acts, if I can say it like that. Situations where spiritual events took place, he did things which like a normal human being couldn't do. But yet again, he never came, never put it on no one. He never stuck it on nobody. In terms of, the worst thing he did physically is he turned over a table in the synagogue. He didn't actually go around knocking people out or and zapping people. I'm going to call on a chariot and to blast you people, make a hole in the ground, open up and swallow you. He didn't do. He could have done all that. He didn't do that. He came in a particular manner. So the apostles came in that manner, and if the apostles are back, then they're going to come in the same manner. So then, if they're, when this, you go back to Isaiah. Oh, shit, I've done it again. Because my hands are cold. I'm sitting out here, and that's why my hands kind of like shaking a little bit. So I'm moving the mouse, and I keep hitting the wrong thing. Plus, I need to go to sleep. I'm just trying to bang through this. I'm trying to do two things at once. So shall they fear, Isaiah 59 and 19, shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. This is when the enemy shall come in like a flood. The spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him. So in that time, in Jacob's trouble, before the deliverance, there will be spiritual power given to certain people, possibly the apostles or prophets from 2,000 years ago. But it's not going to be a spiritual power for them to go and start blasting up people and rounding people up into captivity. It's going to be a spiritual power to help or heal or something, or what, in terms of survival, in terms of, because we're, end of the day, we're still in these fleshly bodies. We'll be in that until the point of deliverance. So we're always relying, whether we realize it or not. Through the last 2,000 years, we've relied on Yahweh Shai to keep us here. You think of the transatlantic slave trade. If the Spirit of the Most High wasn't on us to still be here, we shouldn't really, logically, we shouldn't really have survived it, because it's too much of a brutal scenario to actually survive. You got the small hats, and they talk about their little scenario, after WW2. That's peanuts, man. What they got is peanuts. But anyway, got to be careful what you say. Yeah, and another thing I was going to mention was, the amount of dreams. And there's a lot of brothers, or yeah, pretty much I've heard what I've heard most. People here and there, but a lot of people that are obviously in the truth, teaching, so on and so forth, having particular dreams, or experiences, and they're not just your ordinary experiences, obviously, or visions or dreams. Now, some of them mention them as dreams. Ultimately, when there's certain things happening, certain type of message or playing out in a certain particular way, and very vivid. You can remember certain aspects, your feelings, so on and so forth, and ultimately these become visions, because they affect you the same way that it would affect somebody who had a vision, while awake. So, Apostle Tahar, for example, was mentioning the I think he mentioned about montage and different scenes. I mean, I have to listen to the video again. Like I said, I had a lot going on, so I'm listening to videos, but it's my brain is somewhere else. But um, yeah, that he explained obviously the montage and changing from scene to scene. And when you get the change from scene to scene, it's very sharp. You see, however many scenes you see one scene, and you become engrossed in it. Whether you're asleep or whether you're awake, ultimately they're visions, because they're affecting you in exactly the same way, and then you become engrossed in what you're seeing. You respond into it. You've got this response in your mind, obviously what you're feeling and what's how you see it, and it's all very quick. But then, as quick as it comes, and as quick as much as it shows you, and as engrossed as you become, and then it abruptly cuts to a next scene. And for example, like you read like the ancient prophets, for example, when the way they go through their prophetic scriptures, or speakings, if you like, the way it's formulated. Obviously, it's all through the work of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. But you know you they break it down like this happened, then that happened, and then then this was upon them, then that was upon them. And what it is, these so you read through, like, for example, one chapter of an ancient prophet, and then he'll talk about the destruction, then he'll switch to the Israelites and them being, for example, just stubborn headed, and then it will switch to like a glorious kingdom, and then it will switch back to the destruction or something, all within the same chapter. And almost, it's like, for me, when I read it, it's almost like you have that particular vision. Obviously, when they had the visions, and when they spoke the words, the scriptures were written down. It wasn't in chapter or verse. However, obviously it was put down on scrolls, but it's then like the way you read it, in the way we read it now, it's almost like that scene change. So even though it takes you a minute to actually read the chapter, and you go, well, this happened, da, 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 and that happened, da, da, da. And obviously, when we're teaching it, you're taking your time to break it down, read in between the lines, and expand on those particular precepts. See, the Most High had it. Think about it. The Most High, it basically says, precept upon precept. But then it had to get to this form where it's written like that. So this is done on purpose. The Most High's had it done like this on purpose, with verse and chapter. However, it was spoken in a certain way. But then you read it and you go through the chapter, and it sways from this thing to that thing. Like certain books of Revelation, I can't remember off the top of my head, they will jump, is it 12 or 20? It will jump from, the future to the past, to the future to the past. And it's almost like the vision, the same thing, the scenes, the montage. And it's very quick. And when you're the one receiving it, that's why it cuts you. It cuts you. End of the day, you're seeing, the word of the Most High, but you're seeing it playing out in a physical form. So it's just cutting you the same way when you read the scripture. The first time someone read a certain precept to someone and it cut them, and you go, oh shit, is that who the children of Israel are? It's the same thing. So then ultimately, I can sit here and say, oh, I had a vision, yeah, blah, blah, blah. 7 years ago, I had a vision, yeah. The angel came, showed me these things, da, da, da. And I could try and tell you all these things, and ultimately, was it a good experience or was it a bad experience? It was a good experience. However, I got cut. I got cut because I was like, wow, this is the Most High. That's his son. Okay, blah blah blah. Just cut me. Cut whatever belief I had. Whatever. Cut straight. That's why I can't. You can't respond with anything else. But this is the truth. And then obviously, that's why at that point I had to find somebody who say, no, who's speaking that truth that I saw. And that's what I'm trying to point you at today. But like I say, lately you've had a lot of these types of dreams and certain scenarios. And I spoke before, a couple of weeks ago, about the young girl. She had a dream, and then she saw Yahweh's eyes, and then were they green, were they blue? Or it could be turquoise, and turquoise is obviously the color for Yahweh. When you look on the 12 stones, he was with an angel. She described the other angel as having purple eyes. It would be obviously the color for Asher. And then I explained that obviously my wife had a dream, and in that dream, my eyes were red, which is Benjamin. And then now you had the brother with the sleep paralysis. That's what Esau calls it. We know it's a demon attack. Pretty much, he had the video was breaking down the sleep paralysis, inverted commas, sleep paralysis episode, and he described, obviously showed you the picture of Satan's eyes yellow, obviously with the snake, um, with that snake type of eye, like that type of shape of pupil, but obviously it's yellow. And then you had the brother a few days ago who made the video about some not making it. And if I remember correctly, he spoke again about Satan's eyes being yellow. So there's a particular theme occurring. And it's not down to one person speaking about it, it's down to about a whole bunch of people. I just gave you a whole handful of people, all speaking their spiritual encounters. Yet there's a theme that all these particular characters all had a particular color representing in their eyes. And obviously, two different people have spoken of Satan having the yellow eyes. And, for me, when I look at that group of people, I could, that whole group of people, well, I could give credit to, I could well say, do I vouch for, do I believe what was told to me? Yeah, well, I do on each particular account. So, I don't know, where it takes us, where it goes, where the spirit takes it, I don't know. But I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, we're definitely in those times. I mean, not only is the things increasing in the world, you know, catapulting this society in towards Jacob's trouble, but also on the other, the right hand side, there's things happening in a spiritual sense, with the righteous. There's no in between righteous and wicked. You've either got a righteous spirit or a wicked spirit. There's no spirit of semi-righteousness or no spirit of semi-wickedness. Oh, I'm a spirit of half and half. I come in 50% wickedness and 50% righteousness. There's no spirit that does that. So, you're only one of the other. And so obviously on the right hand side, there's these dreams happening, these encounters and so on and so forth. We're seeing all these particular symbols and signs. So some of them the world sees, some of them they don't see. We know, it all means something. Some of these people just think it's a coincidence. It's something to take a picture and talk about it on the internet. I hope that was edifying. I'm gonna leave it right there. Until next time, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakak, Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.